Third order of business is going to be the opportunity to address the commission by employees or others.
Good morning.
Morning.
If I may, I'd like to just enter one thing in the record, if y'all will consent to it. This is a copy of the consent order number 2015/1385. It's the Louisiana Board of Ethics. It was a consent agreement signed by the Board of Ethics, the LSTA and David Young, consenting that they violated Statute 18.1511-4, and they agreed in the consent that they violated that statute, and they agreed to pay a $5,000 penalty. And I would like to enter this into the record of the commission.
Would you like to provide it to?
With that, that's all I have to say. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Any other comments at this time?
But do you have any information as to whether any of this money is ever collected by the ethics committee?
No, sir. I
Collected?
did have a copy of the minutes where they made a motion to pay it. I don't know if it was actually paid or not yet.
The only comment I would make on that is going back to our original meeting where this issue was raised, as Mr. Millette will recall, it was our suggestion upon our conclusion that we did not have jurisdiction to hear this matter, that certainly we were not making any comments about the propriety of the conduct or that it didn't violate the ethics. In fact, I think we indicated at that time that we understood it was being considered by ethics and that obviously we could take no position on what ethics would or would not do at that time.
No further comment. We'll move on to number 4 on the agenda. Continued discussion of the CAO position at LSP. Is there discussion on this matter?
Yes. As my fellow commissioners know, we've had this topic in front of us for the past few months. What I've done is taken the opportunity, as I hope we all did, to review the tape that Colonel Edmondson, when he came and testified, his comments. And I've talked to Ginger Creek, who's here today, who I'd like to ask to come forward so we can. Ms. Creek and I had the opportunity to meet and go over dates, a lot of clarification that I needed, and hopefully she can shed some light on this for us as well.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
My name is Ginger Creek. I'm the Human Resources Director for the Department of Public Safety.
Thank you. To jump right into it, there was either some confusion or some statements that you and I have gone over, as you're well aware, as everyone's well aware, about the Colonel's statements about not increasing funding for the position that was created, a position that he deemed necessary when Jill Boudreaux's position of Undersecretary was vacated. Going through that conversation, you and I, if you would, for the other commissioners, bring them up to speed on the dates of the pay scale that went into effect, the dates that that position was created, the dates that it was filled.
Absolutely. Yes. So the lieutenant colonels all received, the current lieutenant colonels at the time all received a pay increase to the same amount, effective August 1st, 2016. My understanding that was the final implementation of the pay scale change that went into effect for all of the classified titles back in 2015. Once all of those classified titles had the pay changes, they realized that there were instances where you had majors making more than some lieutenant colonels. Lieutenant colonels are unclassified; they do not fall on the pay scale, and so they set a standard where the lieutenant colonel's pay is going to be a certain percent above a major, the chief of staff will be a certain percent above that, and the colonel will be a certain percent above that. Those pay changes went into effect on August 1st. This commission approved the creation of the new lieutenant colonel position, that is the chief administrative officer, on August 11th, 2016, and that position was created that day. It was filled on August 15th, 2016, by Lieutenant Colonel Jason Starnes, and on that date, his pay was increased to meet the other lieutenant colonels of the same title.
Okay, thank you. I don't know, I'm sure other commissioners have had the opportunity to listen to the tape. The back and forth between the colonel and myself when I asked the question was, his comment was, I'm not increasing my TO, table of organization, from what I understand.
That is correct.
Okay, did that happen, or?
The TO was not increased.
Okay.
The undersecretary position was never filled. It was unfunded to fund this new lieutenant colonel position, and it actually decreased the budget of the agency.
Yeah, we're going to get there in a second, if you will. So I had asked the question, so no new funds are needed for this. His response was, no, sir, no new funds. And then my response was, and the duties that this role would fill are similar to the void that you have right now, meaning with the undersecretary.
Correct.
So that's basically what has happened.
That is correct. He
Okay.
has taken over the duties of the undersecretary.
It's my understanding that because the undersecretary's position is not filled, even with the creation of this lieutenant colonel position, we're still at a net savings.
That's
to better
correct.
clarify.
The difference between the salary from the exiting undersecretary and the increase received by Lieutenant Colonel Starnes, the agency is saving about $100,000 a year in salary.
Okay. I think that's it for right now.
I'm certainly not here to shoot the messenger, but my question is, I'll just make the comment that I left this meeting with the impression that there would not be a raise given to this particular individual in this change. Now, I'm not saying that was an intentional misstatement, but that was my impression of the way that went back and forth. So I just want to make that statement.
It would seem like he would have appeared here and maybe explained that himself.
I actually don't know where he is. I don't think that he's here in the state, but I'm not sure about that.
Out of all fairness, I
Several
invited
meetings
Mr.
since they said there'd be no increase. And what Rich is down there doing is putting the best face on this being deceptive and giving dishonest testimony to this commission.
That's an absolute falsehood, and I take offense to that. I
It's
asked
all
the
right.
question, I listened to the tape. You sat up here months ago saying you remembered exactly what was said.
Exactly.
I had the tape sent to everybody, and I just repeated it word for word. You want to go in the back and listen to the tape and listen to the question I asked? Because I know the question I asked.
I've already heard the tape. The man
Well,
said
obviously
there
you're
would
hearing
be
it with
no
tainted
increase.
ears. I know the question I asked,
Look.
and I'm not trying to put a best face on anything. I'm trying to say the tape went out to everybody.
That's right.
Public information asked for it. So
And he
guess
said
what?
exactly
There were
what I
other
said.
commissioners on this board that were angry with me for putting that out there. So, am I hiding from the truth, or is somebody else? The tape is the tape. The question I asked was the question I asked. So don't sit down there and insinuate I'm trying to put the best face on something
The tape
when I've gone
said-
above and beyond to have meetings with this young lady to get to the bottom of this. What have you done other than pontificate for the press?
What have I done?
Yeah.
I've tried to keep some integrity in this commission, and there is none.
Oh, well.
There is none.
Yeah, nobody has character on this
Ever
commission but
since
you,
you came on
sir.
this board and you came on it with an agenda, that agenda was fulfilled last meeting when Kathy Dearborn resigned from this commission because of the harassment and the crap that she was having to put up with since a state trooper was TDY'd to Baton Rouge to hang around her office every day and to find fault with her. And in fact, he said it at a public meeting. He was going to get rid of Kathy Dearborn, and he even made comments about me. Troopers who were at that meeting filed a grievance, or at least they wrote a letter to the legal counsel here, or to the commission, saying, here's what the man said at the meeting. He followed through with that. He lived up to my low expectations of him, and he managed to have this commission stuffed with people who want to endear themselves with state police management, could care less about the civil service function of this board. the Louisiana State Police Association is absolutely helped destroy this commission, the civil service board that protects them. Now in the future, when a trooper on the road runs into a problem and he feels like management is out to get him, he's going to complain to this board. This board is going to see that that information goes directly to management, and that trooper is beat before he starts. He doesn't have a prayer. Well, that just destroys the civil service standing of this board, and I just cannot believe that people who sit here don't have enough judgment and insight to be aware of that. It makes me angry. It makes me angry. I have 55 years of law enforcement education. I know something about what is integrity and what is not. And wanting to go to the Christmas party is more important than holding management accountable. And people, it's going to come back to haunt you. The only salvation for this commission is to be dissolved and the Louisiana Civil Service Commission to take over the oversight of the state police, because right now we have no oversight whatsoever of the state police. The colonel of the state police can do anything he wants to. He can lie. He can do anything, and he does plenty of it, and nobody holds him accountable. Everybody runs from the truth. I said, how many of you heard him say it? And it was like a group of sheep. Nobody would even admit the man said there'll be no increase in pay. And yet there is, and here we go through this dance trying to justify what the man
Because you're wrong.
said.
That's not what he said. Your wonderful pontification for the press notwithstanding, that's not what the man said.
Where do you get this for the press?
Because that's what you do when you're pontificating for the camera. Why don't you listen to the tape and listen to what it was said? I'm the one that asked the question. I know the intent of my question. And for you to sit up here and act like you're holier than thou, the only one with any integrity and character, is insulting to everyone else sitting here.
I may not be the only one with integrity and character, but I'm the only one who's showing any.
Why? By misquoting what was said after you were sent the audio recording?
When you attack and destroy a young woman's reputation,
I'm sitting here having a conversation about Starnes.
Low life. And anybody that joined into that lynching of Kathy Dearborn has no character, and I'll stand by it.
Last I checked, she resigned.
She resigned because she was told she was going to be fired.
How is that? How is that? How is she told she's going to be fired when the case wasn't even put on?
Mouth and telling her she was going to be fired.
Last time I checked, there's 7 votes up here. Not one.
Why don't you say who made that statement that she would get fired? I want you to say it.
That will come out.
I want you to say it.
That will come
now.
out.
Say it now.
I'm telling you.
You bring up a lot of
it'll
stuff,
come out
Lord.
at
You have
the
nothing to back it up
appropriate
with. You bring stuff here. You call state police crooked, and you have no documentation.
Not state police.
You did.
People in the state police, particularly management, yes.
Say management. Don't say state police.
Dishonest. I have as many friends in the state police as most people sitting here.
Oh, that's
I
you.
put over 25 young men that I taught in the Louisiana State Police. And when you think Grafton don't know what's going on in the state police, you have underestimated my ability to talk and get information.
I think we've gotten completely off track.
Yes.
Because the point of this discussion was about the creation of the position, the CAO position. And if we can get back to the CAO position, we can all discuss it, but let's get back on track on the focus of what we're actually here to discuss. And Mr. Simeon, you had your hand raised if you would like to speak.
I just, I do take exception to some of the comments being made, but I'm not going to get into that debate again. What was said at the previous meeting may not be, and I'm not talking about at the recording, I'm talking about when Mr. Grafton raised the question. I don't think you had denials from the rest of the board. You may have had the rest of the board not making comments because they wanted to hear the tape before they would make any comments on what transpired at that time. I have listened to the tape again, and despite the fact that there may be some logistics, and I'm certainly a lawyer and I understand that as to why the statements were truthful, I left with a different impression of what was going to happen than what happened, and I certainly would like to have a discussion with the person who made those statements about why we got the impression. And I think, I'm not speaking for anybody else, I'm speaking for myself, why I had a wrong impression as to what was going to happen.
Could I ask a question? Being I initiated this in a complaint, at the same time, Colonel Evans was sitting in that chair, a question that was asked by Mr. Simeon was, we're creating a position, but we're not creating a position for Jason Starnes. Was that not in the tape?
Yes.
Colonel Edmondson, what did he say? He said, no, you're creating a position, it's not for Jason Starnes.
Do we have any further comment on this position, on this discussion? Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Creed?
I have no questions for Ms. Creed. I would like to hear from the person who I heard from before.
I appreciate you taking the time. to
Thank you,
come
ma'am.
today.
Thank you.
Could I make a comment? I've been here 2 years, and the last couple of meetings, 2 or 3 meetings, I feel like I'm an outside child. I came in here last month, video set up, sat down at my desk and seen the agenda. Had no idea what was going on. No idea whatsoever. Nobody called me, nobody told me nothing. And to this day, I still don't know what the hell happened. And after 30 days later, nobody's called me, nobody told me, explained to me what did happen. I have had no communication. You determine this, TJ. I've had no calls. You used to text me. You used to send me, let me finish.
Well, no, I'm gonna stop you because it's not true. I drove home that night and I called you, and you called me back.
That's exactly right, but we didn't talk yet. You just called, see how I was doing.
I said, look, I know we don't talk as much as we used to. I'd like to sit down with you. Why don't you let me know when you're in town? Let's grab some food, you know, sit down and catch up.
But TJ,
And you said, okay, and you hung up. It was a minute and 4 seconds.
That's exactly right, but sitting down, talking about what we're talking about, what's going on at this commission, don't need to be sat down behind a drink and Coca-Cola. I just want to be brought up to date as to what's going on. If we got a problem with an employee at this facility, I think I got a right to turn back around and know I can name the other board members that knew. I had no idea. I had no idea what was going to be on the video until I found out 2 days later. I was part of the video. So all I'm saying is, if we're going to be fair I'm for the state police. I'm 100% for the state police. But if we're going to be fair, you gotta let me know what's going on. If you don't want me to, I'll be like Donald Trump. Call me and tell me on the road what you're doing. But I'm not gonna come down here and be treated the way I'm being treated by not having any communication one bit whatsoever. There's no communication, none. And a lot of this stuff that is going on need to stop. I look at this agenda. I don't know who puts this agenda together. I'm looking at this agenda today. I don't know why some of this stuff is on this agenda. It seemed like whoever, you, Lenore, or whoever is putting this stuff together, and it seemed like you want this board to make a decision that somebody else wants to happen to certain people. We shouldn't be like that. If we should be sitting here hearing these cases like they were designed to be done, and to sit here and go into executive session and come back and vote whether to let this guy continue with his appeal or not, or whatever he wants to do, is totally wrong. A person that commit a crime get a chance to go to court. So whoever's putting this together needs to stop it. A lot of this stuff starts from the top. We got an attorney. You should tell us what's right and what's wrong. And if this the way we doing, why are we changing for what we changed for in the last 2 years? I'm not going to be a part of this. If you're going to go into executive session, I'm leaving. I might as well leave, go home, and call me later. But if you're not going to treat me fair, and I'm talking about my other board members that's here also, let's communicate. There's a lot of stuff that's going. I knew they had 4 votes. I was told they had 4 votes to get rid of Kathy. I was told that. And I know who told me that. And the thing about it is, I didn't know until I got here. So why wasn't I aware that there was something going on with an employee in his office? Should I not be aware?
No, absolutely, you should be aware.
Well, I didn't know nothing.
Well, out of all fairness, you and Mr. Grafton are the only two that didn't go meet with the budget analyst when you were invited to.
Well, let me tell you
Everybody
something.
else on this
Hold on
commission
just a second,
did.
hold on just a second. The tape that y'all showed, me and Simeon and Kathy went because none of y'all didn't go.
Right.
I drove from Natchitoches. TJ didn't go. He worked for the troop. He could have went. I don't know what could have come up why he couldn't go, but I feel like maybe it was a setup. Why
There is
didn't you
no
go?
setup.
But you let me. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about how I feel. I went to a meeting that you didn't go to,
Right.
and you went to a meeting that I didn't go to.
Right.
But we both went,
Yeah.
and I had input as to what's going on. But I'm just saying, make me aware of what's going on. If you don't want me to make me aware of what's going on,
And if you look
that's
at
fine.
number 7 on the agenda, that's it. Number 7 was
I'm-
my idea, because creating subcommittees, because we can't all meet. 4 of us can't meet. Every time we all meet, it violates public meeting
Let me
laws.
say, that's fine. That's what TJ tried to do when he first came in here, was to do a subcommittee, I think, where 4 people can turn around. And I don't have a problem with that, because if you got the votes to do it, you do it. I can live with it. Okay, I have no problem with that. But is it wrong for me to say that I should have a right to know what's going on? And I want to thank
It's
you.
absolutely
Let me tell you
not
something.
wrong.
I want
You're
to
absolutely
thank
right.
you, because I got more emails from you as to what's going on than I got from anybody else. I want to thank you for bringing me up to date as to what is going on, a little bit that stuff going on. Never got anything from TJ.
Well,
You know, but
from
I'm
my
done.
standpoint, you're welcome.
Yeah.
And then, item number 7, without jumping around on the agenda, that's what that's about. Creating subcommittees so we can all communicate better.
Well, I think.
These are subcommittees with 3 people. There's no voting rights. It's simply to make suggestions back to the full committee to streamline this.
I've been doing this a long time. I sat on several other boards. When the deck is stacked, the deck is stacked.
That's right.
It's simple as 1, 2, 3, and it don't take a rocket science to figure out where we're going with this. I'm not crazy. I'm not stupid. I didn't get where I am today by being stupid. It don't take a rocket science to see where this is going. And if where it is going, that Calvin ain't got no say so, it don't make a difference what I agree on. And it's been proven that the last meetings that I've been to. It doesn't make any difference what I say, what I do. But I will tell you one thing. If you take this trooper that's on this deal and put him back in the position that he was in with the people in charge of him, and don't listen to what he has to say and bring it to this board, you might as well turn back around and put gas on him and burn him up. Simple. Because you know why? I would do the same thing if it was me. These troopers need to have somebody that's going to support them and stand with them, and when they got a problem with management, because when it comes to public, I will weigh 125% towards that trooper than I would a public citizen complaining. But when it comes to a trooper captain or whoever it is, after a trooper, I'm going down because he knows better. Be fair with these guys. But you cannot sit here and deny this guy an opportunity to do an investigation to find out what the heck's going on. I'm done with that. I'm through with it. I spoke my piece. I'm not quitting. I'm not getting off this board. So here I am, and I'm done. But I'm done with it, and I'm through with it. And I appreciate the time that y'all gave me to say what I had to say. Thank you very much.
Calvin, I'd like to follow up on that and say this is my last day at the Louisiana State Police Commission. I am resigning, and I want to say that Kathy Dearborn was an absolute wonderful person to work with. She was very competent. She was knowledgeable. She's an educated young lady. I found her to be nothing but helpful, and the assassination of her character has been absolutely done by people who have no character. And you say, Grafton, you appear to be angry. I am. Makes me mad. And it's good that I'm an old man. But I have seen people be destroyed. I've seen law enforcement officers be fired, burn their career, and they were the only one telling the truth. The only one telling the truth. How disturbing is that? It bothers me. And I thought when I came on this commission, I had 55 years. I had a BA, a master's, a doctorate. I was a federal agent 23 years. I worked for Federal Narcotics, ATF. I taught at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. I taught for 23 years as a professor of criminal justice. I have worked 20 years as an expert witness, consultant for police departments, sheriff's departments. And when I look at what I see with this Louisiana State Police, I shake my head. And I cannot believe that people are so anxious to sit at the foot of the master that they will compromise themselves and they will destroy somebody's career who is a deserving person. To me, it makes no sense. And I just say shame on them. But I wish the state troopers that are out there doing the work every day a successful, safe career, and nobody has more respect for them than I do. I worked with them for years. In Louisiana, I have some of the most high-profile cases. I was the undercover agent. When 2 troopers were threatened by a gangster, I was the agent who was hired to kill the 2 troopers. And we brought them to justice. The guy came to my residence to kill me, and he was shot to death by the state police. I have worked with the good troopers. I know what they look like. I know who they are. And I'm going to tell you that what I see in the management of this Louisiana State Police needs some serious correcting. And it has to be done by the governor's office. And if they don't have the fortitude to do it, it's not going to get done. But I've had my say, and I thank you for the opportunity to serve on this commission, and I am done.
Okay, any further continued discussion on the CAO position?
No?
Do we have any motions related to the CAO position?
You don't need any motions, do we?
No, we don't need a motion? Okay. Well, moving on to number 5 on the agenda, executive session for the discussion of the appeal of William R. Woodward III, docket number 16-229, strategy sessions, negotiations with respect to litigation. Do we have any motions or comments on this?
Real quick, is Mr. Braxton coming back?
I don't think so.
That's not my impression.
Okay.
Just, and the reason I say that is based on a comment he made to me just before he walked out the door.
Okay. So, Lenore, before we make a motion on number 5, can you go through in our rules when it is and when it is not appropriate for us to go into executive session? My understanding is it's appropriate for us to go into executive session if we're going to talk about the character or other aspects of a
That's
employee.
not what this is. This would be strategy sessions, negotiations with respect to litigation. It's written in the agenda.
Okay. So is it appropriate for us in this circumstance to go into executive session?
Yeah, under those circumstances.
Okay.
So
It's to
there's,
discuss the legal aspects of it, and then you come back out and you decide what you're going to decide to do.
some potential litigation involved in it.
Well, the appeal itself, you know, and what his options are. You can do it in open if you want. I mean, it's up to you.
It was my understanding we went to executive session to protect the dignity or the secrecy or whatever's being alleged about the state trooper. Am I correct in that assumption?
Well, it's
Not in every case, but in some cases.
You can consider that, but this would be under strategy sessions, negotiations with respect to litigation. That's just how it's written in the open meeting law. So it's up to you whether you want to do that or not. I mean, if you want to have a discussion about the appeal in open and talk about the trooper like that, that's up to you.
Well, we got 2 lawyers that are commissioners. What are y'all's opinion? Obviously, we know Mr. Braxton's opinion. So.
Well, I'm still waiting to hear where we're having a strategy session as opposed to discussing the merits of what's being raised. Or if we want to talk about negotiate, I just don't know. We can talk about something we're trying to negotiate with someone, and obviously you don't do negotiations.
No, it's more of what your options are with respect to the appeal itself.
Okay.
Which I think is only appropriate in executive session, because we're skirting around talking about the very thing that we're supposed to be talking about right now. And so if we're talking about
litigation strategy for what our options are. That doesn't, I mean, unless, it seems to me that's appropriate.
That is,
I'm not-
Executive session under the law.
I'm just not sure how
for
we.
example,
Well, excuse me, well, I'm sorry, but I'm just not sure how we would be talking about litigation strategy. We're a board
that's how it's applied whenever you have a, for example, a hearing, and then you discuss after the hearing what, you know, any legal questions that arise as a result of that, discussions of that, and then you come back out and then the board decides what they're going to do on the hearing in the open.
Okay, so you're talking about discussing with us what our legal issues are, options are, right? Okay. That's what I was trying to get, that's what I was trying to get clarification on. I didn't understand. Okay.
So do
And
you
then-
agree with
But your
Monica?
decisions are in the open.
If what we're going to talk about is what our strategies are as to, from a legal standpoint on how our board should operate in this particular instance, yes, I would agree.
Okay, with that case, I'll make the motion to go into executive session.
Second. All in favor of entering executive session?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries, we'll enter executive session. In the matter of William R. Woodward III, docket number 16-229, discussion vote regarding whether the appeal may proceed. Any,
I'm sorry.
yeah, any comment, go ahead.
I would just request that we move this matter to the summary docket for our next meeting.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries. Okay, number 7 on the agenda, formation of subcommittees. The review of applications for ED position, research and continuing education, testing support, budget analysis, and improvement. Anybody like to speak on this?
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of at a loss right now because we're 2 commissioners down, but theoretically, the concept in this was to start these subcommittees, continuing education, testing, budget, and a temporary one hiring for the executive director. Point being is, I was saying earlier, and to Mr. Braxton's point about communication on the board, we know that only 3 of us can get together at a time. So the concept was to start these committees, these subcommittees, with 3 people on each one that could move forward continuing education for our board, testing as it relates to state police service, budget as it relates to our board, and the temporary subcommittee hiring the executive director. These subcommittees would have no authority to basically enact anything. It would just simply bring its suggestions to the full commission. That being said, you know, I open it up for discussion.
Any discussion?
I have a question. If this is to avoid the open meetings law of 4 members, if you create subcommittees, they are also
I'm going to
under...
interject right there. It's not done for that. It's done to create more communication on this board. It's done in order, so the people that were going to ask to serve on continuing education would have been Lloyd Grafton, Mr. Braxton, and Eula Simeon. So the 3 of them could continue to look for future educational seminars, symposiums, those kind of things. Not to avoid anything else, but to follow the letter of the law. Not to avoid anything.
My point is, subcommittee meetings are also subject to the open meetings law.
And that's fine, y'all can come to them.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
The point was, if we do 4, it has to be advertised and all the other things that go with that, and 4 people constituting a quorum could make a vote. And that's not what I want. What I want is 3 people to get together, to streamline this process, come back at the open meeting to the entire commission and make suggestions and bring things up for discussion.
Okay,
It's done in a process. What we're doing is a process to try and streamline this and make it more effective and more efficient. That being said, obviously we're going to have to drop back on continuing education. Testing, I was going to ask Monica, Euless, and Donald Bro, for obvious reasons, with both of them being attorneys and Mr. Bro having institutional knowledge. Budget, myself, Mr. Braxton, and Mr. Bro. Mr. Braxton and I being business people, and again, Sheriff Rowe having institutional knowledge. But be that as it may, we're going to have to sit down and reconvene about continuing education. Until we get Mr. Braxton back at the next meeting, or I'll talk to him before the next meeting, if y'all are fine, we could hold off on the 3 on continuing ed, testing, and budget, and just move forward with the hiring 3-person committee. From what I understand, we've received somewhere around 65 or 75 resumes for the executive director position. My goal would be to dwindle that down to people that have met the preferred guidelines that we put forth. Hopefully get it down to about somewhere around 6 final applicants, and then set a special meeting for them to come in front of the entire commission and do a face-to-face interview. If y'all are good with that.
Well, I guess the thing would be, so that there is no true deselection by the subcommittee, is that the suggestion of who would be whittled out as opposed to whittled in would need to come to the entire board.
Sure.
So that we could approve that.
Well, like I said, we got like 75.
Well, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
and
I
some of them don't meet the minimum requests that we put forth.
No,
So my suggestion would be we take those immediately out of the stack and then dwindle it down to those that were in the stack. We could then, if you want, probably just email those to each other so everybody has the opportunity to look at those. I don't know, I'm open to suggestions. What I'm trying to do is get through this process so we can get an executive director in here.
Yeah.
So what would your suggestion be?
Well, my suggestion would be that obviously we have set criteria, minimum standards for the person. If we can objectively, have someone objectively look at that and whittle out 40 of them because they don't meet the minimum criteria, that then be sent to the board and say, look, these people don't, and these are the reasons why, and then we all say, okay, we agree with that, or somebody may say, well, you know, if you look at this as opposed to that, maybe that person does.
Sure.
Know? So I would just like to see the whole board's input on.
Okay, and then after
the
we get,
process.
and then after we get to that stage, how do we dwindle it down? Because I don't think it's appropriate to invite 15 or 16 people in.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Right.
And I don't know the next answer to that, other than I think the decision on who gets invited needs to be a decision of the whole board.
I don't disagree.
Oh, okay, that's all I'm saying.
No, we're saying the same thing, but what I'm saying is how do we get there?
Yeah.
It wasn't a rhetorical statement. That was kind of a question to throw it out there.
It's not that I have an answer. It's not that I thought it was rhetorical. I just don't know that I have the answer.
Anyone?
Well, here's a thought. Why don't
Well, let's
we-
get through the first stage of it first then, which would be to,
Can I just throw this out there? What if we provided all the applications to each board member
sure.
in 2 different packets? One being the complete list of applicants, the second being the list of applicants that appear to meet minimum qualifications. Why don't we have a special meeting the 20th as a board, and we go through those together? And then what we'll do is at the end of that day, we'll schedule another special meeting for the 22nd. That'll give us time, if we go through the list of applicants on the 20th, at that day, we notify the list of applicants that we, as a board, would like to further interview, and then schedule a meeting for the 22nd to do the interviews. That gives us 2 weeks.
I'm good with that if y'all are.
All right. Just 1 second.
20th. Okay, so as of now, for the, I guess what we're doing is also in this discussion, since everything else went away, what we're doing is we're combining 7 and 8. So number 8 on the agenda is consideration of whether to schedule a special meeting for hiring of executive director. So what we'll do is on the 20th, we'll convene a special meeting, 9 a.m. here. At that time, I'll have Christy and Ms. Debbie provide us a list of all the applicants with the list of applicants that appear to meet minimum qualifications so they can be reviewed by each board member. On the 20th, we will go through that list in open meeting, and then what we'll do is, once we whittle that list down, we will contact the applicants for further interview to be done on the 22nd.
But all of the applications will be
Yes, sir.
sent so that we
Yes.
can, because in case there's any disagreement over whether some of the.
Absolutely. All applicants will be in one package, and the second package, that way we'll just know who seems to appear to meet the minimum qualifications. And then we'll discuss that the 20th.
But that was my concept too.
Yeah,
Was the
okay,
fact
well,
that,
I
you know, if somebody doesn't put on the resume specifically human resources, but you read in the resume where they've been overseeing 25, 50 people for 10 years, I mean, ostensibly that's the same thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think they need to be precluded just because of that.
Right.
No objections to that? Do I have a motion for a special meeting on the 20th and the 22nd?
I'll move for it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
22nd, you said something about that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's the 20th and the 22nd.
Right, you said something else.
Yes, sir. That's gonna be a Monday and a Wednesday.
Double check your list, make sure you're good.
Yeah, because I.
No, yours.
Oh, you was,
I'm
yeah.
in the wrong damn year, no wonder I don't have anything on my calendar. I was looking at 2019, that's why I didn't have anything on my calendar.
Moving fast enough, you was.
I'm getting old too fast.
You think you are?
Are we talking about in the morning time?
It's up to you. When would you be available?
Yeah, I'd be more available in the afternoon on the 20th.
Okay, well, let's make the meeting 1300 on the 20th. That's 1 o'clock. Yes, sir.
And unfortunately, well, my wife's having a medical procedure on the 22nd, but if we did it in the afternoon, I'd probably be available in the afternoon. Both days in the
13th.
afternoon.
Okay.
Same time, 1 o'clock, or you want to push it back a little more?
For the 22nd, unless, I know I'm not trying to make it my
No, no, go
convenience,
ahead.
but for the 22nd, the later in the afternoon would be better, maybe like 2:30, 3
I was
o'clock.
gonna say 3 o'clock.
3
Yeah.
o'clock?
Okay.
Okay, so the 20th will be 1 p.m. The 22nd will be 3 p.m.
And we're gonna do it here, right?
Yes, sir. All right. Everybody good with that? Moving on, number 9, other commission business. Any other business to discuss?
Nope.
Okay, number 10, adjournment. Motion to adjourn?
Move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries, meeting adjourned.